and I have been informed that I am not approved to run Talladega.
Cleetus McFarland has been bringing millions of new fans to NASCAR, and NASCAR just repaid him by slamming the door shut on his Talladega dream. On Tuesday, April 7th, Cleetus got the phone call nobody wants to get. The director of the NASCAR O'Reilly Auto Parts Series told him straight up, "You are not approved to race at Talladega Superspeedway on April 25th. No discussion, just no." This all comes down to what happened at Rockingham Speedway this past Saturday. That race was basically Cleetus's audition. NASCAR needed to see him handle himself in the O'Reilly Series car before they'd let him loose at Talladega, and honestly, it didn't go well. He started 35th in the RCR number 33 car. On just the fourth lap, he tried to go 3 wide into a corner. Bad call. He spun out. Then he spun out again. He picked up a pit box penalty on top of that. Had to run a huge chunk of the race on worn-out tires with over 100 laps on them. By the checkered flag, he finished 32nd 6 laps behind the winner. The whole race was basically him just trying to survive. But here's what Cleetus kept saying after he didn't crash anyone. He didn't wreck anybody else's car. He didn't ruin a single person's day except his own. He called it the hardest thing I have ever done in my life. And earlier that same day, he ran the ARCA race and finished 4th. So the speed is there. The talent is there. But the O'Reilly level is a whole different beast. NASCAR was watching every single lap. And after seeing him spin multiple times and struggle through the whole event, they made their decision. John Probst, NASCAR's executive vice president, explained it like this. He said, "We're all huge Cleetus fans. We all watch his videos and are certainly very appreciative of everything he's done in our sport. But then came the part that matters. We'd like to see more out of Cleetus in the short tracks. So we're not saying no, but there is more that we would like to see out of Cleetus before we would approve him for Talladega." So it's not a forever no. It's a not yet. But that doesn't make it hurt any less. Cleetus didn't waste a single minute. Just 3 minutes after hanging up the phone, he hit record. No edits, no script. One take. He wanted his fans to hear it from him before anyone else could twist the story. He said, "I wanted you to hear it from me first that I have been denied by NASCAR to run Talladega in my O'Reilly's car." Then he broke down what happened. "They did not see enough," he said. "Granted, it was a pretty hectic race. I tried to pass someone 3 wide on the 3rd lap. Spun out a few more times. Didn't crash or crash anybody. But still, it was pretty hectic." And he was completely honest about the whole thing. He said this opportunity only came together about 2 months ago. The plan to aim for Talladega was cooked up fast. "I've only been racing NASCAR for 1 year, he admitted. "It was more overreach than a lot of you guys probably know." Now, here's the part that really makes this frustrating. NASCAR says Cleetus can only race on short tracks in the O'Reilly Series right now. That means places like Dover, Iowa, or Bristol. And Cleetus himself pointed out how backwards that feels. He said the short tracks are actually way harder to drive than the bigger tracks. He'd much rather go to Kansas or another 1.5 miles because those are easier to handle. And super speedways like Talladega, those are actually the easiest tracks to drive. The problem is, when something goes wrong at a super speedway, it goes really wrong. One mistake can take out 15 cars in a blink. That's what NASCAR is scared of. And Bristol? Cleetus doesn't even want to hear about it. He said, "You think those guys smoked me at Rockingham? They're going to kill me at Bristol." To make things even worse, he checked the remaining schedule and has conflicts with most of the other short track dates. So this decision could basically knock him completely out of the O'Reilly Series for the entire year unless they find a way around it. And then there's the elephant in the room, the pressure from inside the NASCAR garage. Because a lot of people in that garage have been saying for weeks that Cleetus shouldn't be out there at all. Back in March, Kyle Busch, a 2-time Cup Series champion and technically Cleetus's own teammate at RCR, went right at him during a media session at Phoenix. He said, "I don't know how many races he's run. Denny Hamlin ran 10,000 before he got here, right? So I don't know if Cleetus has run 10 or not. But there's definitely a need to having ample experience." And then the line that really stung. "My son's probably run more races than he has, and he's 10 years old." Freddie Kraft, who spots for Bubba Wallace in the Cup Series, was even louder about it on social media. He wrote, "Crash at the Rockingham truck test. Crash lap 5 of your only truck start. Good enough for me. Approved. He also said after the Daytona truck race that they were just lucky Cleetus's spin went down the track instead of up, because if it had gone up, he could have wiped out half the field. After Rockingham, the criticism kept coming. Kraft said Cleetus basically wasted a top-tier RCR car. Analyst Tommy Baldwin sarcastically said he did good despite spinning 4 times during the race. Cleetus knows all of this is happening. He said in his video that there is a ton of outside pressure on NASCAR saying he shouldn't be approved. And while NASCAR probably says they aren't letting that pressure change their decisions, Cleetus said honestly, that'd be tough to do. But not everybody is piling on. Former O'Reilly Series champion Justin Allgaier actually stood up for Cleetus after Rockingham. He said, "I thought Cleetus did a great job. He did a really good job staying out of the way every time we lapped him. I know that today had to be really tough on him, especially with some of the social media stuff that he's had going against him the past few weeks, so I'm proud of him." RCR's own VP of O'Reilly Operations, Danny Lawrence, also backed him up. He said Cleetus did really good a couple of times where he could have spun in front of the whole field and didn't. But he also admitted we got to be better, and he wasn't sure NASCAR had seen enough, especially since they never even got to do a live pit stop during the race, which was part of what NASCAR wanted to see. So where does Cleetus go from here? He's not quitting, not even thinking about it. He's still racing in ARCA at Kansas Speedway on April 18th and at Talladega on April 25th in his ARCA car. He's got Truck Series races coming up that he hasn't even announced yet. He's heading to Michigan, and NASCAR told him that based on how those future races go, they might approve him for bigger tracks without needing additional O'Reilly starts in between. Cleetus put the whole thing in perspective at the end of his video. He talked about his 2 kids asleep in the next room, his wife, his racetracks, his employees, his friends. He said this NASCAR journey is just one piece of his life, and this rejection, just a little nick in that journey. Then he made a promise that every single one of his fans needs to hear, "We will make it to Talladega in an O'Reilly's car one day. Mark my words." He's meeting with RCR and his sponsor Tommy's Express to figure out next steps. And he left everyone with one final thought that honestly sums up this whole situation perfectly. "I'm like the least experienced NASCAR driver in history, trying to get opportunities to do some of the biggest things in NASCAR history. So these things are going to happen. This probably won't be the last time."